Hi, welcome back to the channel. This is PKS Runs. I am Paul, and today we're going to do something a little bit different. So on the channel, I've talked a lot about the Manchester Marathon, I've talked a lot about my running, I never really talk about work, and I thought perhaps I could let you into my world. I spend a lot of time talking to clients and prospects about AI, particularly Chat GPT, and the way that we can use that to help the research industry. That's where I work. And it got me thinking, I wonder if there's a way that I could use Chat GPT to analyse my marathon performance from Manchester and see if it could give me some usable statistics that I could share with you. So this is a bit of an experiment, but we're going to see how it goes. So if you're a bit of a data nerd or an AI nerd, or you're just curious as to what the heck I'm even talking about, then stay tuned because this is going to be a great video. Now, I would just say, if you do enjoy them, please do hit the like button, subscribe, hit the bell button so you're always notified when there's a new video, and leave me a comment down below. It really does encourage me to hear from you. I've been doing this for a couple of months now. I've been journeying through my marathon journey and it's been great fun. I'm loving getting to know people on the channel. And with that, let's get into this video. Okay, so every time I go out for a run, I track it using this, my Garmin Fenix 6S Pro Solar, which is almost all singing, all dancing. There's now a Fenix 7, so it's not as all singing, all dancing as it was when I first got it, but it's a great watch. I then upload the data to Garmin Connect, and from there it goes across to Strava, where I then go and look at it and hope that people are going to give me likes and kudos and comments. And that's all very good for just keeping track of my runs, keeping track of my targets. But for this experiment, that's not going to work. So what I'm going to need to do is go back to the Garmin file and see what I can come up with to actually make this usable. So I'm actually going to share my screen with you. I'm not going to be looking directly down the barrel for this whole video because I'm going to be looking at my screen, which is just up here. And I'm going to talk you through this whole process. Let's have a little look at this data. So you can see here that I am in my Garmin Connect account, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to export my splits as a CSV file, and here is the data that I've got. So you can see in this document that there are a number of columns in here that we probably don't want. For example, I've got the average gap pace, I've got my heart rate, which I do want to keep. I want to keep my maximum heart rate. That's going to be useful. I probably want to keep the ascent and the descent, but you can see here I've got a load of blank columns, so we're going to get rid of those altogether. I'm also not particularly interested in the temperature, which is a wrist-based temperature. I'm not really sure what that's for. Let's keep the best pace. We don't really need the moving time because I didn't ever stop, so we know that didn't change, and we don't have the running power. Ordinarily, I wear a Garmin heart rate monitor, which actually would have filled in all of those blank columns, except I left it in my bag at the house the night before. So it made it into my bag, but it didn't make it onto my chest. So we've deleted those columns. So what we can do now is we can start to think about what we're going to put into ChatGPT to get it to run this data for us. So for those of you who don't know what ChatGPT is, it's a large language model that is powered by OpenAI. They are technology geniuses, and the model effectively allows you to converse with AI, and you can almost talk to it as if it's human, except it's not. It is actually just a machine. It doesn't have feelings, it doesn't have thoughts, but what it does have is an incredible ability to understand language. So it has been trained on terabytes of language over the last 10 years. Effectively, it knows everything about everything because it has read everything. And what it does is it works out, using algorithms, the probability of the next word in the sentence, and that is about as far as I'm going to go into the technical aspects of ChatGPT. So one of the things that's really important with this is understanding how to speak to the AI. Now, the first thing to mention, and I made a bit of an error here, I didn't say my please and my thank yous. I always think it's worth saying please to Chat GPT, because if the machines ever do take over, I want AI to think of me as one of the good guys. But that's an aside. So this is what I asked. Act as an experienced marathon running coach and provide a detailed analysis of my performance based on the mile splits from my recent marathon race. Additionally, answer any questions I may have regarding my pacing, strategy, and areas for improvement. Please consider factors such as pacing, consistency, potential fatigue, and race strategy while providing your expert advice. So that's pretty conclusive, isn't it? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask it a question. I'm asking, here are my mile splits for the Manchester Marathon, to give it some context, and I'm going to paste in all of that data that I got from that CSV file. So you can see it's pretty messy, if I'm honest. I've got all of the miles, I've got each of the splits, and then there are some gaps between each of those. So we'll see what the AI is able to come up with. So let's run that query. Okay, looking very good so far. Okay, first of all, congratulations on completing the Manchester Marathon. Based on your mile splits and other data provided, here's a detailed analysis of your performance. Okay, so it understands that it was a marathon, it understands what was going on in that chart, so that's pretty useful. So the first thing it talks about is my pacing consistency. Your pacing was relatively consistent throughout the race, with an average pace of around 6:40 to 6:50 per mile for the first half of the marathon. However, there was a noticeable drop in pace during the second half, particularly from mile 18 onwards, when your average pace increased to around 7 minutes to 7:15 per mile. This could be an indication of fatigue setting in during the latter stages of the race. It's absolutely nailed it, because that was the point at which my headphones died, and mentally I just lost all I just completely lost it in my head. So it's absolutely articulated that brilliantly. The first half was brilliant. The second half was actually going really well until that mile 18. So let's see what else it says. Okay, potential fatigue. Your average heart rate increased gradually throughout the race, which is what we'd expect as you progress through the marathon. However, the increase in heart rate from mile 15 onwards, coupled with the drop in pace, suggests that you may have been experiencing fatigue. This could have been due to various factors such as inadequate fueling, insufficient training, or starting the race at a pace that was too fast for your current fitness level. Now, I'm going to need to check this, but I've got a feeling that mile 15 is where the first of the sort of, not big hills, but challenging hills came into play. So it certainly understands that I was getting tired at mile 15. So let's have a look. What does it say about my race strategy? Okay, yeah, okay, nails it. Your race strategy seemed to be relatively aggressive, with a fast start in the first few miles. While this can be beneficial in some cases, it may have contributed to the fatigue experienced later in the race. A more conservative start, followed by a gradual increase in pace, could potentially lead to a stronger finish. That is exactly what I planned to do. I'd set it up on my watch using Pace Pro to run negative splits, so the idea being that it was just going to get ever so slightly faster as I went through the race. And yeah, what can I say? I got carried away at the very beginning of the race, and I guess I did pay for that later on. Let's have a look at what else it comes up with. So it actually gives me some areas for improvement. So it tells me that I could focus on pacing. So I need to think about aiming for a more consistent pace throughout the race with a gradual increase in speed as you progress. This can help conserve energy and reduce the risk of fatigue in later stages. Totally makes sense. I would completely agree with that. Training adjustments. Suggesting I evaluate my training plan and consider incorporating more long runs, tempo runs, and marathon-specific workouts to build endurance and improve your ability to maintain a consistent pace throughout the race. It doesn't know any of my training data, so I'm not sure how it's pulling that conclusion, but I will say this. I didn't do a training plan. I just went out and I did some long runs and generally kept my heart rate low, and occasionally went out and did a fast kind of 5 miles, but really I didn't have a plan, and so I was hit and miss. So I'll take that on board, ChatGPT. Probably if I followed a structured training plan, which I'm planning to for my April marathon next year, then hopefully we can see some improvements. So what does it say about my fueling strategy? Ensure that you're adequately fueling before and during the race to maintain energy levels and reduce the risk of fatigue. This includes proper hydration, consuming carbohydrates, and replenishing electrolytes. Again, one of the things that I talked about in one of the recent videos was at mile 18, what I really wanted was some electrolytes. I didn't get them, and I was pretty well stocked with the gels, but the electrolytes really let me down and I started to cramp at the end of the race. Okay, so what's next? Race day strategy. Consider starting the race at a more conservative pace and gradually increasing your speed as you progress. This could help conserve energy and reduce the risk of fatigue in the latter stages of the race. I feel like you've already said that, so not so impressed. So overall, you had a strong performance in the Manchester Marathon. Yeah, I think I did. 2:59.17 seconds. I'm happy with that. With some adjustments to your pacing, training and race day strategy, you could continue to improve and achieve even better results in the future. Good luck. Thank you very much, Coach GPT. That is very useful, but I want to get some more information out of you, so do not go anywhere. So what am I going to ask next? What was my fastest mile? And let's see what it can come up with. Okay, nice and easy. My fastest mile was mile 6 with a time of 6:15 and 2 seconds with an average pace of 6:15 per mile. Absolutely spot on. Okay, I mean, that's quite easy to spot. So you're not quite winning me over as a running coach just yet. So let's see if we can probe a little bit deeper and see what else you can come up with. So let's ask it, what was my fastest 5-kilometer split time during the race? So let's see if we can test it, because we've given it the detail in miles and I'm asking it for a 5k race time, and let's see what it can come up with. Okay, all right. Yeah, this is fun. Okay, so to estimate your fastest 5k time during the race, I will analyse your splits and calculate their average pace for each 5k segment. Here's a breakdown of the 5-kilometre segments and their corresponding average paces. Now, bear in mind that I haven't given them kilometre splits, so it's doing a little bit of guesswork here. So it's gone for mile 1 to 3.1, average pace of 6:46 per mile. The second 5k, 6:26 per mile, then 6:21 per mile, back up to 6:36 per mile, 6:45 per mile, 7:03, then 7:10. So based on this analysis, your fastest estimated 5k time during the race was during the segment between miles 6.2 and 9.3 with an average pace of 6:21 per mile. To calculate the estimated time for this 5-kilometre segment, we could use the following formula. Time equals distance times pace. Yeah, that makes sense. I remember learning that in school. So the time is 3.10686 miles, 5 kilometres, times 6.35 minutes per mile, 6:21 pace. Time is 19.728 minutes. So it's telling me that my fastest estimated 5km time during the race was approximately 19 minutes and 44 seconds. Actually, that's pretty decent. I think several months ago, probably at the start of this year actually, I would have been really happy to run 19:44 for a 5k. And I actually did that as part of my marathon, so well done me. What's next? Let's see what else we can do. Okay, so this is going to be controversial, and I tell you why, this is going to be to do with weight. So my weight has fluctuated a lot over the years, and currently I'm still about a stone heavier than I'd like to be when I'm at my most healthiest. And I know I look chiseled and handsome but the truth is, around here, the waist is still bulging, I'll be honest. I'm struggling to lose it. I'm 42 years old. I'm finding that hard. And so what I'm wondering is, if I was to lose that stone that I wanted to lose, what would the impact be on my marathon time? So let's see, what will Chat GPT come up with? And this is going to be controversial. Okay, so this has given me some pretty good information. So, losing weight can have a positive impact on your running performance as it generally reduces the energy cost of running and can lead to improved efficiency. However, Predicting the exact improvement in your marathon time based on weight loss alone is difficult, as there are many other factors that can influence your performance. Absolutely right, wouldn't disagree with that at all. One commonly used rule of thumb is that for every pound of weight loss you can expect to run about 2 seconds faster per mile, which kind of sounds marginal really. I don't know if that's going to make any difference. Using this estimation, if you were to lose 1 stone, 14 pounds, you could potentially see an improvement of 28 seconds per mile. Okay, so that's interesting. So to estimate your new marathon time, we can use the following formula. New time equals old time minus improvement per mile times the marathon distance. Assuming your average pace during the Manchester Marathon was around 6:50 per mile, your new average pace after losing 1 stone would be 6:22 per mile. So 6:50 minus 0.28. So now we can calculate your new marathon time. So new time equals 6.36667 minutes per mile. So 6:22 pace times 26.2 miles. So the new time is 167.106 minutes. Your predicted marathon time after losing 1 stone would be approximately 2 hours, 47 minutes and 6 seconds, assuming that no other variables change. Keep in mind that this is rough estimation and individual results may vary. It's also important to ensure that any weight loss is achieved in a healthy, sustainable manner, and that you continue to focus on proper training, nutrition and recovery to optimize your performance. Absolutely. Absolutely. In this next 2 months, I plan on focusing quite heavily on trying to shift that weight. I'm not training for anything particular at the moment. I am running the Lisbon Marathon in October, but I'm going to be doing that with the camera and just trying to enjoy it. So the pressure's off in terms of needing to do lots of high performance running. I am going to try and do lots of volume, but I want to try and lose some of that weight, focus on some strength, focus on some core, some mobility. And so I'm going to be definitely paying attention to that, making sure that I eat enough and recover enough to help me with my performance. Okay, so now let's have a look at the fueling strategy and let's see if it is able to give me any information based on my pace, the number of calories burned and my heart rate across the race. So this is good, this is all stuff that I think I'd probably know, but let's have a look at this in detail. 1. Pre-race nutrition. Consume a high carbohydrate meal 3 to 4 hours before the race to ensure your glycogen stores are topped up. This meal should be low in fibre and fat to minimise gastrointestinal issues. Yes, I did that. I had a great big bowl of porridge, actually quite high in fibre. I had it with whole milk, so probably quite high in fat. But I have that in the mornings anyway. I was pretty sure that wasn't going to be a problem. Drink 16 to 20 ounces of water or sports drink 2 to 3 hours before the race. Yep, did that. Have a light snack such as a banana or energy bar about 30 to 60 minutes before the race, along with a few sips of water or sports drink. Yep, I did all of that. In race fueling, aim to consume 30 to 60 grams of carbohydrate per hour during the race. This could be achieved through a combination of sports drink, energy gels, chews or bars. Choose products that you've tested during training and comfortable with. Yep, did all of that. Based on your pace and calories burned per mile, approximately 110 to 130 calories, you'll need to replace a portion of these calories to maintain energy levels. Since it's difficult to replace all the calories burned during a marathon, focus on consuming easily digestible carbohydrates to provide a steady energy supply. Yes, I did that, tick. Plan to consume your first energy gel or chew around the 45-minute mark. Actually did that at 30 minutes and then every 30 to 45 minutes thereafter. Adjust this timing based on your individual needs and preferences. Yep, I did all of that. I took one on the start line and then I took one at 30 minutes and every 30 minutes after that. Hydration, this is where it might get a little bit tricky. Aim to drink 16 to 32 ounces of fluid per hour, depending on factors such as temperature, humidity and sweat rate. This could be a combination of water and sports drinks. As it was only water, I had a Lucozade at about mile 6 or 7, and that was the last one I had, so I didn't get any more electrolytes into me throughout the race. It's then just verifying that. So sports drinks containing electrolytes can help replace sodium and other minerals lost through sweat, which is particularly important for maintaining proper hydration and preventing cramps. That's exactly the problem I had from mile 23. Drink small amounts of fluid at regular intervals every 15 to 20 minutes rather than large amounts all at once to minimize gastrointestinal issues. Okay, yeah, we did that. Post-race recovery, Consume a meal containing a mix of carbohydrate and protein within 30 to 60 minutes after the race to replenish glycogen stores and promote muscular repair. I don't think I nailed this. I had a protein bar, I had a Lucozade and a protein shake, and that was it until a little bit later when I had a slice of pizza and then had some Nando's. I continued to hydrate with water or sports drinks to replace any remaining fluid losses. Yeah, I kept on doing that, kept on drinking for the rest of the day. Remember that individual needs and preferences can vary, so it's essential to practice your fueling strategy during your training runs to determine what works best for you. Yep, definitely need to practice that. I didn't practice it. I'm going to need to come up with a strategy for the electrolytes, probably need to go and hide them in a bush or something so that I can run past and pick them up. Okay, so let's ask ChatGPT another question. Let's ask it, which mile was the hardest for me? Let's see what it comes up with. Okay, so based on the data provided, it appears that mile 23 was the hardest for you. This was indicated by the combination of a slower pace, 7:13 per mile, yep, relatively high average heart rate, 180 beats per minute, and a high maximum heart rate, 189 beats per minute during that mile. Additionally, your average run cadence remained consistent, suggesting that the increased effort was not due to a change in your running form, but rather the difficulty of that particular mile. That was when the cramps started. So mile 23, ChatGPT, you've absolutely nailed it. You completely nailed it. Okay, please give me a review of my cadence across the race. So your cadence, or the number of steps that you took per minute, remained relatively consistent throughout the Manchester Marathon. Here's a review of your cadence across the race. Your average run cadence ranged between 180 and 185 steps per minute for most of the miles. This is a good cadence range, as many running experts recommend a cadence of around 180 steps per minute to promote efficient running form and reduce the risk of injury. Nailed it. Been practicing that a lot in training. There were no significant fluctuations in your cadence during the race, indicating that you maintained a steady rhythm and stride frequency throughout the marathon. This consistency in cadence is a positive aspect of your performance, as it suggests that you were able to maintain your running form even as fatigue set in during the later stages of the race. So I'm encouraged by that. Your cadence remained relatively stable even when your pace slowed down in the second half of the marathon. This could mean that you were shortening your stride length to compensate for the increased effort and fatigue, which is a common response when trying to maintain a consistent cadence. Overall, your cadence during the Manchester Marathon was consistent and within the recommended range for efficient running. To further improve your performance, you can continue to focus on maintaining a steady cadence during training runs and races, whilst also running on other aspects of your running form, such as stride length and foot strike. Okay, yeah, pretty happy with that. Let's flip and look at some positive stuff. At what point in the race am I most comfortable? And explain how you reach your conclusions. So let's see what it's going to give me here. Okay, so based on the data provided, it appears that you were most comfortable during the segment between miles 5 and 9. Here's how I reached the conclusions. 1. Pace. Your pace during this segment was consistently faster than your overall average pace, with mile times ranging between 6:15 and 6:25 per mile. This suggests that you were running efficiently and comfortably during this part of the race. Heart rate. Your average heart rate during this segment was relatively stable, ranging between 165 and 172 beats per minute. This indicates that your effort level was consistent and manageable without any significant spikes in heart rate that could suggest discomfort or increased exertion. Cadence. Your average run cadence remained consistent during this segment, ranging between 184 and 185 steps per minute. This suggests that you were maintaining a steady rhythm and stride frequency, which is often associated with a comfortable running pace. Well done, me. Stride length. Your average stride length during this segment was between 1.37 and 1.4 meters, which is slightly higher than your overall average stride length. This indicates that you are running with a more efficient stride during this part of the race, which can contribute to a more comfortable running experience. Overall, the combination of a faster pace, stable heart rate, consistent cadence, and slightly longer stride length during the segments between mile 5 and 9 suggests that you were most comfortable during this part of the Manchester Marathon. That's pretty good. So, there you have it. That is ChatGPT working as my very own expert running coach. and I'm going to be probing it lots more in the future. If you've got any questions that you want me to ask of this data, then do leave them in the comments below. I'll find another way to use this in the future. Maybe I'll get it to invent me a training plan. Thank you so much for watching. If you got this far, well done. And I hope you enjoyed this little technical video on Coach GPT. And please do remember to hit the like button, subscribe, hit the bell icon, leave me a comment. Loving getting to know you. Do follow me on Strava, follow me on Instagram, and I'll see you in the next video.